Hello. It's still Monday, but you'll see this hopefully starting on Tuesday. I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit and let this upload because it'll take hours. You know, if I go longer than 5 minutes, it's hours, and I'm thinking I'm just going to talk. And if I end up making a 10-15 minute video, it will take all night. Very, very fucked up. You know, it's not because of my shit. It's because of my service. All right. You know, okay. So, like I thought, a rather interesting, weird day. No good news happened here in America. If I read the comments on my last video, other parts of the world are pulling it together. I can imagine Canada is indeed doing better than America. I just shake my head when I, just before I forget, they finally did a mask mandate here in Omaha, not for the whole state, but for my city. It doesn't go into effect right away, but I watched part of the city council, and we still have, you know, Nebraska is such a backwards, redneck, racist red state. I actually watched people, and I could see through their words as well as their body language and everything how these people have this narrow view. They believe this fairy tale about life in America because that's what they've lived. And so they literally think that this is about freedom, you know, because no one they know has gotten sick. It's not real to them. These people are, it's rather, seemingly rather hopeless. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. Very sad. A very sad situation in America. So I received a gift from a Johan from Belgium. He's been in touch through Messenger and made sure I had a link to something recently where Joachim Jans Rodelius was involved. I watched a little bit of it, but again, it was very ambient, and so I viewed it and I moved on. But thank you. But he sent me a record he wanted me to hear. Tengger, Spiritual 2. Apparently this is a couple out of South Korea, and what they're doing is an ambient drone thing. I've listened to it already. Thank you, Johan. Okay, this just moves, it drones right along. It's nice. It's nice. I just love getting to hear stuff that I wouldn't hear, you know. I know there's a ton of music on Bandcamp and really good stuff. I'm on there. But it's not often that I want to just sit on Bandcamp and explore new artists. I do every now and then. It's much more fun to receive the record. This is the way to go. Thank you. Visited with my brother today. He came by. The tension of this COVID is, and also the tension with the protesting that continues to go. You know, the 1-2, let alone everything else. You know, we trade notes about it, you know. I'm glad he's here in town. And then I went and sat over across the street with my neighbor Gary, who's becoming a friend. We're very different. Glad to know him, though, you know, and just a real straight, almost gangster type, you know. He's a good man, you know. Yeah, he's a good man. He could have been hood, you know. Hood's in him, you know, like it's in me, but, you know, he raised a family and got off the street. Good man, but tough. That's what I like about him. Yeah, I like knowing good people, real people. Okay, so what else? So there was some music played, and I'm just going to riff a little bit. bought this recently, and I'm still deciphering it. That's how how I'm approaching this latest Flying Lotus, Flamagra, whatever. This is a strange album. I listened to the side that starts with the David Lynch telling a story, you know. And this is strange. I'm still decoding it. That's really the way it seems. It's like, don't really know what's going on here just yet. And that means that there's a lot going on here. Whether that means it's good is beside the point. There's a lot going on here. Lots to decipher. I like the artwork too. I like Stephen's Brain Feeder. Actually, that's something I did recently. Was I went to his YouTube site and watched a bunch of Brain Feeder artists' videos. Pleasantly surprised. Don't remember any of the names right now to call, but different. You know, very different. I love seeing the diversification. I love seeing music that doesn't fit easily into any genre. Forward thinking. If I showed this recently, I'm showing it again because I played it again today because I really like this album. R.E.M's last album before they left us, you know, collapse into now. And I stay up with these guys watching Michael Stipe on the internet and stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get together one more time. You know, it's still in them. I know that Michael says he misses it. This is a good album. It's just R.E.M. doing what R.E.M. does. I love it. Okay, some other things that got played. Here's something that an album, a group I got turned on to in the last maybe 10 years. Bought it, put it away, and then I said, hell, why'd they put it away? I still haven't played this enough to really know it. North Atlantic Oscillation. Their 2012 album, Fog Electric. I think it's just a couple of guys. They do some really exquisite harmonies, and I like the way they write, because they write like Mew and like Genesis, where they're aiming for unusual harmonies, or taking steps with the songs that don't go 1, 2, 3, but will do this and that, and it's like, oh, they keep it interesting. Really still haven't paid any attention to the lyrics. They sing like the lyrics are supposed to mean something. But the music is enough. I love that. The music is enough. I don't even have to pretend what they're singing about. The sound of the harmonies is enough. I was rereading that book on the 70s Prog yesterday or whatever that someone sent me. Really good book. And it just calls to mind stuff to play. So I pulled this today, Polite Force by Egg, 1971. I believe this is their second album. Canterbury Trio, organ-based. This is really grand. And I even like the Boilk, the sound piece, which can be a little much, but I like that sort of thing. And this is a good one. This whole album is great. Original U.S. pressing. I posted this today, and that caught people's attention. I showed the label. I like to show the labels when I post stuff online. And several people who are good collectors said that they've never come across a U.S. copy with that label. I've had this for probably 40 years. Probably, easily. Can't remember where I found it. Can't say that I found it here in Omaha. I found it used. Great album. Okay, Comfort Food. I needed this today. Hadn't played it in a long time. This is an album that always warms my spirit. Bo Hansson's Magician's Hat. This is another one. I posted it today, and I was surprised that some people said they'd never seen it before. And a couple people said, well, I have Lord of the Rings. Where did this come from? And then I stopped and realized it's 2020, and this came out in 1973. And just because it's part of my life and my continuum, I have to stop assuming, you know. I know better than to assume, but I'll just be thinking, well, surely everybody knows about this now. But no, wonderful album. Made during the same sessions as Lord of the Rings album that he has, which is one of my all-time top favorite albums. And this one is too. The illustration captures it perfectly. This is a summer album, a spring and summer album. Oh, God, I love this music so much. Lifts my spirits, always. Just love it so much. Okay, because I usually don't bother with these records, but I buy them and then I'll play them once and then I put them away. I decided, let me spend some time with the guitarist Kazumi Watanabe from Japan. Oftentimes, and he's a good player, and he's in my wheelhouse because of his work with Sakamoto, those records in particular. But I'll pick up the other ones because you get it, they're cheap heat, especially here in this area. Some of the cheap heat that El Bicho Feo shows never gets distributed here in Nebraska. Many records that he shows, they've never ended up in the shops here. The kind of stuff that I find when I've been able to travel on the road. He shows some cool stuff. I'd like to get a lot of that stuff. But anyway, this is some cheap heat that you can find in Nebraska. Mermaid Boulevard, Kazumi Watanabe with the usual suspects for his records. Lee Ritenour, Patrice Rushen, Harvey Mason, Ernie Watts. That whole crew, okay? And so as a result, it has this sort of light, happy, sunshiny sort of approach to the music that I'm usually have no interest in. However, with the reality of the depression that I'm dealing with, and so is everyone else, I've got good coping skills, but these are very depressing times. This hit the spot. It was like, oh, this is like a ray of sunshine sitting in somebody else's kitchen that I wouldn't normally be in their house having breakfast. Wonderful. His version of the song dedicated to Quincy Jones on here, Q, by the Brothers Johnson. It's a nice version. I like Brothers Johnson. I love Quincy Jones. I love Quincy Jones's ear. And recently watched a very good documentary on him. I love watching documentaries. Just finished watching a Neil Diamond documentary. I loved him from the beginning. I remember when his first solo hit the radio here in the Midwest. They played it, Solitary Man, 1966, I believe it was. Really liked that record from the beginning. And Cherry Cherry, too. I still have scratched copies of the singles. I also played this one, Lonesome Cat, Kazumi Watanabe. I didn't bother to look at the personnel on this, but I see here he's got George Cable, Cecil McBee's on here, and Lenny White. Solid musicians. Again, spirited, kind of up on the upside. It was great, kind of off to my usual beaten path. Yesterday I played some stuff off of CD that I don't usually play, but I stuck them all away. Let me see if I can just happen to come across one of them that... Yeah, here's one. This is something you probably will never not see from anyone else. I'll be surprised if anyone knows about this. Breakway. I bought this from Jack Wright when I played with him on tour. Avant-garde musician Jack Wright plays horns and other stuff. He's not on this, but there's some connection to... Okay, no, I didn't buy it from Jack. It was Justin Clifford Rohde. This was on Justin Clifford Rohde's label. He's another independent musician who I met and played shows with and befriended. Very interesting cat. Friends and Relative Records. Any of you guys know about this guy? This is really cool. Noise work. But that cover, you see it and it's like, okay, this one catches my attention and it lives up to it. This one stands out. It's unusual. It's a noise piece. There's no melody on here anywhere. But this is killer. Breakway. 2009 is when this came out. I played that. I played some of this. Heavy Machinery operated by Bebop and Destruction. This is something I got through my brother back when he was working for a music distribution company, and he would just give me all kinds of promos. And this came out back when acid jazz, you know how they try to market everything? This is when acid jazz was happening. But this is just jazz. It's kind of a quiet, swinging jazz. It's not lounge. It's jazz. The players are competent. The horn player doesn't ever really stand up and really state much. But as an ensemble, it's pretty nice. Bebop and Destruction, that was one that I pulled. Okay. Then back over here, I played this all the way through. It's been a while since I've listened to much Eberhard Weber. Later that evening. And this was, I'm glad I did, because it was, he doesn't make typical records. And this one is cool because the two sides are very different. Very different. Often in the open. The B-side was very sketchy and open, whereas the first side is just beautiful and gorgeous. If you know his work, you know what I'm talking about. And look at the folks playing. Lyle Mays, Bill Purcell, Paul McCandless. How can you can't go wrong. Chris McGregor's Brotherhood of Breath. I think I got this from Chris Cole, from you, Chris. I'm sure you will see this at some time. An original on the Neon label. These are very collectible, so it's hard to find them. It's some radio station's copy. But the Brotherhood of Breath really got into this last night because it's a mixture of English people, and I think there's some Africans on here, but they try to, yeah, there are. And that's the whole idea, is they just try to take it night point on the B side of this. They just try to go out into the wild. They just set it up to just, to make this, to be like animals interacting in the wild. I love that label. Very collectible. RCA Neon. Really enjoyed this. Very, very African, but English at the same time. Not African like it's all Africans. It's very cool. Kind of makes me think about Matt Parker and his whole deal of jazz in Britain. There is an identity. All countries have them, but British jazz has an identity of its own. I like it. I like it. Boy, did I enjoy this last night. Peter Gabriel, Deutsches album, Security, sung in German. Different mix than the regular version of this. I love this album. And Wallflower brings me to tears often when I hear it in English. The words. He's talking about political prisoners. When I heard it, it made me think immediately of the people locked away in the psych wards that I had to work with. Their hopeless plights. It just makes me... When I saw him the last time with the orchestra and he did it, I just stood up in the aisle and just wept. I didn't give a fuck who saw me. It just always goes here. Peter Gabriel. Former hero. He's just a regular guy. Kind of a rich bitch, actually, but I don't hold it against him. He's been a good person in my life. Two different people have sent me this album. Thank you, both of you. Ryuichi Sakamoto's Async. He made this album as he recovered from cancer. Wasn't sure if he'd make another album. This album is deeper than shit. I love this. Oh. I don't have a favorite Sakamoto album because he does something with his music where it's like I gotta listen to something from all across his discography. Not one album. So this one is right in there. There's parts of this that are like, whoa. The one, the David Sylvian spoken word part. Oh, wow. Wow. So this is a 20-minute video. This is going to take 5-6 hours probably to upload. I hope the computer keeps running. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to stop there and just trying to keep my spirit up. Trying to have a focus to try to be helpful and not hopeless. But the near future right now is looking real difficult. And it's just thoroughly maddening and infuriating and frustrating how politics and the myth of America and white privilege have things so, the world is upside down, and we can't move forward because of this, what I just said, this mental insanity. And it's, rather than seeing much sign of hope of it getting better or clearing up, it's going the opposite, especially with Trump in office, because of his sick mind. When he feels like he's not getting his way or he's cornered, rather than making an admission, he just doubles down and just doubles down harder. That's what we see. What's the latest? Not attending the John Lewis, not acknowledging that, and he's the president, and this is a congressman, an important, historic black congressman, and we're supposed to see that as not racist at the very least, much less utterly insensitive, truly showing that we have someone in the office of the presidency who has no business being there. This is so wrong. You cannot excuse it. You can come over here and rationalize it and spin it to say something that you think for your reason for okaying it, but that doesn't make it okay. Good thing I know that about rationalization. Do y'all understand what rationalizing is? It's not the same as using logic. You can rationalize anything because reality is plastic. In other words, it's malleable. We're operating on the principle that if things happen often enough, then it becomes normal. We're pattern-based, okay? But those patterns subtly change, and the next thing you know, whereas there was a time when you could make a record, "Don't Call Me Nigger Whitey," and you could get it pressed, and it said it. Now, you know what I mean? Maybe that's not a good example. But the point is that reality is not set in stone, and that's why it's just so infuriating to me to just watch the poisonous politicization of the narrative in my country and everywhere else, where you cannot get an accord because you can make people believe anything. And we have this long history of white dominance and some of the horrific things that have gone on because of this privilege and dominance that's really kind of like, we're taking another look at it now, or people are looking at it and it's like, whoa, man, we put up with a lot of madness. It just lets me see how we got a long road to hoe, and more than likely it's going to be mired in this shit until I die. I mean, I'd love to live to be over 100, and if that could be the case, then I might see some movement, probably more like complete collapse, because that's really where we're headed, is just utter collapse. It's happening now, of course, So I need to stop. This is going to take forever to upload, but I just needed to just kind of come on and talk, and keep my mind together. You keep your minds together. And don't be silent, don't be, whatever your race is, whoever you are, don't be silent about the illness in the world. We need to work together to move forward. Silence, in a lot of ways, now is complicity, especially when it comes to shit like white privilege, racism, sexism, okay? Left, right bullshit. And that shit's bullshit. Okay, let's see. I hope this video is online in the morning.